What's up, folks? It's Thursday. That means it's football day. I'm Chris, your NFL writer here at Occupy Fantasy, here with a look at some of the top plays for today's opening slate of Week 1 of the NFL Preseason. Top plays for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before we dive into that little bit of business, I want to formally wrap up before we move on to Week 1. Hall of Fame game last week. Very, very successful evening for a lot of our subscribers. Viewer of the preview video that Brian and I put out last Thursday for Browns Jets was able to take down second place in the big DraftKings tournament for $20,000. Hopeful that we will see a lot more of that tonight and throughout the rest of the preseason from you. If you want more information on today's slate, keep an eye out for the daily plug that we will post at occupyfantasy.com by about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That will go over not just our top plays for tonight's action, but also team-by-team notes by position. You can leverage a lot of that information for building some Showdown lineups. We'll also have some Showdown top plays for Seahawks and Vikings in there for you specifically. But tonight, the top 5 plays that you can deploy in your classic lineups, whether that's on DraftKings or FanDuel, regardless of where you play. The number 1 play on the board. Don't get cute with this. Low risk, high risk contests, especially small field stuff. Drew Lock with the Seattle Seahawks is going to play extensively for the Seattle Seahawks tonight. Last season, the Seahawks had a competition between Lock and Geno Smith for the quarterback 1 job. We all know by now that Geno Smith not only won that job, but he kept it throughout the 2022 season, and he will have it once again here to begin 2023. So this is Drew Lock's time to really show that he has adapted to Seattle's offense and is worth keeping cemented in their quarterback 2 position. Now, we're not just flying by the seat of our pants to give you this call tonight. We know for a fact that the Seahawks are going to play Lock very heavily. Writer Greg Bell of the News Tribune out that way. In his last report from practice, Seattle's last practice was Tuesday night, August 8th, talked about how Geno Smith played a ton and that there's not going to be a lot of reps for him this week. Tuesday's practice hinted that the team's going to play a lot of the backups we see here. Drew Lock got a ton of the plays with the starting offense in that practice. Now, Seattle has 3 quarterbacks in total on their roster. We already know that Geno Smith is ruled out for this game tonight, so that just leaves Drew Lock and rookie Holton Ahlers to split the reps in this game. Ahlers has a lot of high-risk appeal in the second half. He will probably play the entire second half for the Seahawks tonight. So I would strongly consider only playing Drew Lock at quarterback, especially in smaller field stuff. By far going to be the most highly owned quarterback in classic format contests this evening. But if you're looking for some maybe second half plays or just high risk plays for the big contests like the preseason special here on DraftKings or the rush over on FanDuel, you can consider playing Holton Ahlers as the other play from the Seahawks because he's the only other Seattle quarterback that's going to play tonight. Betting information a little bit unreliable at this point in the preseason. We don't know a ton of what teams are going to look like out there, but one of the information points that we do have is that Seattle is currently favored by 3.5 points. Seattle with the second highest implied team total on the 2 games tonight. So one of these 2 quarterbacks could be okay in your lineups, but we definitely prefer by far Drew Lock in both low, high-risk contests. Lock them in, move on to the next thing. Speaking of the next thing, New England Patriots running back Kevin Harris has been touted as the player to watch by New England Patriots sports writers from the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, MassLive.com, TheAthletic.com. Kevin Harris is in what seems like a crowded backfield here, but we know Ramondre Stevenson is not going to play. The starters are going to rest for the Patriots tonight. The Patriots want to get an extended look at these inexperienced running backs here because it will give them information on whether or not they actually do need to go out and sign a veteran like Ezekiel Elliott. By all accounts, Kevin Harris is the leading candidate to be the number 2 running back behind Ramondre Stevenson if they don't add someone. So this is the time for them to get an extensive look at him. Now, just to do our due diligence and tie a bow around this and show you that we have done our homework, Chad Graff from The Athletic, his article he posted yesterday about this upcoming week. Patriots preseason opener named players to watch. Kevin Harris, not just named in the article, getting the headline treatment. Harris has gotten more meaningful snaps in training camp than Pierre Strong. That's really all you need to know as far as a preference here between these 2 guys. If you're only playing one of them in a lineup tonight. Do think Kevin Harris is the best play for a low-risk lineup, but I don't have any problem with considering two Patriots running backs in builds tonight on the classic slates. Pierre Strong should also get a significant amount of work. We're kind of skeptical that J.J. Taylor is going to play more than these other two. He's been on the team the longest of these three, and I think the Patriots know what they have in J.J. Taylor, but there certainly is some risk that he takes some playing time away from the other two. So just keep that in mind as you put your lineups together. We will be monitoring pregame warmups and providing updates to our plug article and in our Discord as well. It's a good reason to get subscribed to our Discord. There's a link to do so in the description of the video below if you have not done so already. Now, we're not done with looking at running backs. We do have to play at least two of them on this slate, and I didn't lock in Strong or J.J. Taylor as my other favorite play on this slate, so there must be somebody else. Number 3, DeWayne McBride from the Minnesota Vikings. This running back led the NCAA in rushing last year. Had a very, very fun time on one of the best ball live streams I did earlier in the spring with Chuck, where we talked about that extensively. Again, another play that we're not just pulling out of thin air here. We have some information from Vikings beat reporters. This was Alec Lewis, who wrote the 53-man roster projection for the Vikings a couple days ago, looking at practices leading up to this opening preseason game for them against the Seattle Seahawks. He has McBride as an intriguing option in the backfield who will likely get the bulk of the work in tonight's preseason game. Alexander Mattison kind of right now locked in as the RB1, maybe a potential 3-down back for the Vikings. We'll see how that shapes out. The only thing that we need to know for tonight is that Madison's not going to play. The number 2 running back position is seen as a competition between second-year player Ty Chandler and Kene Nwangwu, who also has some return duties on this team, pretty valuable member of the Vikings overall roster. One thing that we were able to see, Nwangwu has not been practicing. Alec Lewis actually mentions that here in this little preview. So Nwangwu's not going to play tonight. That leaves what I think is 3 running backs that are actually going to see playing time in this game. McBride, who's going to get the most opportunities apparently. Abram Smith played in the XFL with the DC Defenders this season. Seems to be at the bottom end of the depth chart. They have him getting cut here. He should play a little bit tonight. And then they actually took the liberty of listing CJ Ham in here as a running back that's going to make the roster in this particular preview. Ham is a fullback more so than a running back, a valuable member of their offense, a veteran who's been on the team for a while. I would be very surprised if Ham plays at all in this opening preseason game. So if we are assuming Madison and Ham are out, and we know that Nwangwu's nursing some injuries and is probably inactive tonight as well, we've got just 3 players that are going to split running back opportunities in this game against the Seattle Seahawks. We know McBride's going to be the one that's going to get the most reps based off of the reporting out of training camp. So DeWayne McBride is another one of our top plays that we like on this slate. We'll stop here for a second. A lot of daily fantasy content providers like to give you what they call their core plays for the slate. We're not big on that here at Occupy, but I would say these 3, for lack of better terminology, are our core plays on this slate. Everything else is significantly more high risk than this right here. We are taking some shots, taking some dart throws on plays from this point here on out. These by far, I think, will be the most popular plays on the board. Our top 3 in this video. I would definitely play these guys in low risk contests and probably in most of my high risk contest lineups as well if you're playing daily fantasy tonight on DraftKings or FanDuel. Now, cheating a little bit on 4th and 5th favorite plays. The New England Patriots wide receiver room as a whole is one that I'm interested in. Juju Smith-Schuster, new member of the team, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, these guys are not going to play tonight. They are part of the veteran group of players alongside Mac Jones and Ramondre Stevenson, Hunter Henry, and Mike Gesicki at tight end. All those guys are not going to play tonight. They're definitely going to be watching this game from the sidelines. Now, we know who's not going to be playing. So who is going to be playing tonight? Bill Belichick, his teams, they love to play 3rd unit wide receivers extensively in the first week of the preseason. That's because typically the 3rd quarterback gets the most playing time on the roster. Last season, Mac Jones did not start. Brian Hoyer, who started preseason in camp as QB2, got about a quarter, and Bailey Zappi played the rest of the game as the 3rd quarterback on the roster. Getting over 70% of team snaps out there with Bailey Zappi last year was the 3rd wide receiver unit, which at that time was Trey Nixon, Christian Wilkerson, and Lil Jordan Humphrey. Wilkerson and Humphrey no longer with the Patriots, but we think this year that unit is going to include some rookies that the Patriots brought in and a second-year player who has a lot to prove. The Patriots wide receivers that are most likely to see a ton of action tonight based off of camp reports, Demario Pop Douglas has been dominating in training camp. Any Patriots training camp report that you can read over the last 2 weeks, it's all about how Douglas is winning his one-on-one matchups and getting a ton of targets in the 11-on-11 sessions from all the quarterbacks that he's working with. So I would suspect that Demario Douglas is going to be the most popular Patriots wide receiver that gets played out of this group. Douglas has played so well that it seems like he's actually leapt ahead of second-round draft pick Tyquan Thornton on the depth chart, which is bad news for Thornton as we enter the regular season, but might be good news for you if you were interested in playing Thornton in preseason DFS here in week 1. Trey Nixon, who was part of that group who played a ton last year in this game, is back for another dose of reality. The fact that he's not a starting wide receiver on this offense, but maybe he's fighting more so than these other guys I've talked about to keep his roster spot here. So could see a lot of playing time for Trey Nixon. And then we also have Keyshawn Boutte out of LSU, 6th-round draft pick alongside Demario Douglas, the second rookie wide receiver from the Patriots that we expect to see a decent amount of playing time here. Douglas has had by far the better summer with the Patriots overall if you read the news clippings, but Boutte has actually been playing a little bit better over the last few sessions. Be interesting to see how he plays tonight. The Patriots want to get a good look at each of these young players tonight and see who is worth keeping around throughout the rest of 2023. Bottom line, I do think at least one of these guys is good to play in your lineups tonight. If you're playing the ownership game, I do think that Douglas is going to end up being the most popular one in this group because of how much press he's gotten here in the New England area. So just keep that in mind as you build out your high-risk lineups. My favorite play here is going to be Demario Douglas. I think he will be the one that I would roll out in a low-risk lineup versus any of the other ones based off of everything that we have been reading here. So 4th favorite play on the board, a Patriot wide receiver. I will have Douglas represent that group here in the video. 5th and final top play that I have for you that I think is worth emphasizing. Again, a little bit of a dart throw at wide receiver. The favored Seattle Seahawks. We have Drew Lock in our lineup. We probably want to pair at least one pass catcher with him. Cody Thompson. Let's go back to Greg Bell's article in the News Tribune. Had an amazing 40-yard catch from Drew Lock in the scrimmage on Tuesday. Pretty good indication here that Thompson not only will be out there playing with Drew Lock in the first half, but that he will be seeing some high-value opportunities to catch the football and potentially score some touchdowns during that time period. Cody Thompson is in the lead to win the 4th wide receiver job for the Seahawks behind DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and rookie Jackson Smith-Njigba here. And that is a very, very strong reason to expect him to get a ton of playing time with Drew Lock. And that is something that Greg Bell covered extensively in that article I referred to earlier, where I mentioned that we will also be getting a ton of Drew Lock this evening. So our 5 favorite overall plays on the board for tonight's preseason action in DFS on FanDuel and DraftKings on Thursday, August 10th. Drew Lock from the Seattle Seahawks at quarterback, Kevin Harris from the New England Patriots at running back, DeWayne McBride from the Minnesota Vikings at running back. I have Demario Douglas slotted in here, but it's any of Demario Douglas, Keyshawn Boutte, Trey Nixon, and Tyquan Thornton as a group that seem to be in line for a lot of playing time for the Patriots. And we have Cody Thompson from the Seattle Seahawks as our core. Now, hit the nail on the head in the Hall of Fame game preview video with a low-owned play at wide receiver for Showdown. I know you're all looking for another low-owned play to go with tonight. There is another Seahawk wide receiver I'm excited about. Haven't seen a lot of buzz about him in what exists for preseason content. We have Jake Bobo, who also should be playing a little bit with Drew Lock in the first half tonight, may also play in the second half. Jake Bobo, looking at a preview of the Seahawks on The Athletic, written by Michael Sean Duggar. He's been the biggest undrafted free agent standout in Seattle's camp, and he led all receivers in production in Seattle's last scrimmage tune-up for this preseason game. So a low-owned play, a bonus play tonight you should consider in high-risk contests, especially Jake Bobo with the Seattle Seahawks. We take pride in doing extensive research for each game on every single preseason DFS slate throughout the month of August. Our daily plug will be posted by about 4 p.m. Eastern here on Thursday, August 10th. We'll be back tomorrow with another preview of Friday's action here on the channel for you, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow morning. We look forward to bringing that to you, and good luck tonight in your preseason DFS contests on DraftKings and FanDuel. We appreciate you watching this video, and we hope that you will continue to come back to watch more.